15, verses 1 and verse 5. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. You could be seated. I want to preach this morning around the thought, a genuine connection. A genuine connection. John 14 ends, verse 31, John 14 ends with Jesus saying to his disciples, get up, let's go from here. And Jesus and the 11, for Judas has already left. Judas is already gone. Jesus and the 11 come down out of the upper room, through Jerusalem, down the Kidron Valley, up into the Mount of Olives, and into the Garden of Gethsemane. Now, a part of this journey through Jerusalem includes passing the second temple. And when they pass the second temple there on the holy place, they can see in the light of the moon this great golden cluster of grapes that was adorning the wall of the temple. Josephus, the historian, says that it was so large that it was about the size of a full-grown man in height. And walking past this, we believe, Jesus points to that great golden cluster of grapes and says to the 11, I am the true vine. See, Jesus is talking along the way, and he is talking about relationships. He says that your relationship with one another should be characterized by love. That disciples should not be at each other's throats. They should love one another. Oh, I see what this is going to be like. He says disciples ought to love one another. And he comes to the end of the text and he tells you why disciples ought to love one another. At the end of the text, he's going to say, because the world already hates you. You have enough people against you to come to church and still have to fight. You ought to be able to come into the congregation of the righteous and find some peace and some encouragement and some strength. But Jesus says, if you're going to be my disciples, you got to learn how to love each other. I know you don't like their attitude, but love them anyway. I see how this is going to be. I understand they have some ways that you may not jive with just right, but Jesus says, if you're my disciple, your love for me ought to trump your dislike of them. And if you love me, you'll love those who I love, and I love every last one of y'all in this church, so I'm going to be like Jesus and love, because the world hates you just because you come from me. I know this isn't a popular message. It isn't what most of us want to hear, but the truth is the world should not be able to comfortably live in the same environment as a saint. There should be something about your way of life as a believer in Jesus Christ that challenges the way the world lives. You shouldn't talk the same way the world talks. You shouldn't behave the same way the world behaves. You shouldn't go to all of the places that they go. There should be a difference between clean and unclean. And if there is a difference, they're going to hate you because of the difference. The problem with the church is that we're so dirty you can't tell the difference between the church and the world, because you want to dress like them, you want to talk like them, you want your music to sound like them. You done turn the lights off in your church so it's dark like the club because you want to be like them. And Jesus says, love not the things of the world, for the one that loves the world does not love the Father. I know I'm talking. I say the one that loves the world, 1 John chapter 2, the one that loves the world does not love the Father. And if you love the Father, it's going to change your affections towards the world. And so Jesus says this is how your relationship should look. Your relationships is this here. Love those who are disciples, because the world already hates you. And then he says, he is actually the opening of the text. He opens the text. This is verses 1 down through verse 11. He says, and the way you learn how to love the people that you go to church with, and the way you learn how to endure being hated by the world, is by coming to the understanding and the realization that you cannot do this without Jesus. That I can't be saved without Jesus. The truth of the matter is I can't love you without Jesus. I cannot endure being hated by the world without Jesus. So he says, you're going to have to learn that without me, you can do nothing. Without me, you can do nothing. And he talks about this on the way. He talks about this on the way. And Jesus passing by the temple, the second great temple of Herod, and pointing up at that great golden cluster of grapes, he says, listen, I understand there are three major trees in Near Eastern Israel, three major trees, the olive, the fig, and the grape. The olive, the fig, and the grape. The olive tree, the fig tree, the grape tree. I understand that each of these trees have come to represent Israel. I understand that. I understand that when you see the vine, you look at your coinage and you see a grapevine on your coin. It's a picture of Israel. But the problem is, whenever you see Israel as a vine, come to Bible study and I'll show it to you in the scriptures, it's always a sign that they couldn't do what they were called to do. And I need to say something to somebody in this church. It ought to come a time where you get tired of faking it. I know. I'm preaching by myself today, social media. I said, it ought to come a time where you get tired of coming to the church and not having any fruit in your life. There should be some type of sign that you have a relationship with Jesus. You've been coming to church all these years and you still got a nasty attitude. How can you pray for people and still be nasty to them? I don't understand. How can you spend time in the presence of God with your hands lifted and, Lord, I love you. I really love you. Yes, I love you because you first loved me, and then look at folks and roll your eyes and roll your neck. And I'm trying to understand, how can you be connected to God for real and it not change you? That's the picture you have with the vine in the Old Testament. See, God plants this vine and he's expecting some fruit from the vine. Okay, let's use a Bible verse. He's expecting some love and some joy and some peace and some patience. He's expecting some gentleness and some goodness and some kindness, some faithfulness and some self-control from this vine. And every time he plants the vine, he gets wild, sour grapes from it. How do I keep working on this thing and it keeps giving me sour grapes? I wonder, is the Lord looking at GB like he looks at Israel and say, I keep working with y'all. Here y'all is 120 plus years old and still sour. Just as wild as you want to be. I keep digging around you and I keep trimming you and I keep cutting you back and I keep pruning you and I keep pouring water on you and you're still sour. he says, yeah, you're part of the vine. You are my people. Sermon in a sentence. I got to give the sermon in a sentence here because the way this is going, I don't know how this is going to end. Here's the sermon in a sentence. Jesus alone can empower you to live a faithful and fruitful life, but you must abide in Jesus. If you get this, you get my whole sermon. Jesus alone can empower you to live a faithful, fruitful life, but you must abide in Jesus. See, if you just stay with Jesus, this is the whole sermon. If you stick with Jesus, he'll make you faithful. He'll help you be faithful. If you just stick with Jesus, he'll help you be fruitful. But you have to make up your mind that you ain't going to be over here today and over there tomorrow. You got to make up your mind. Words of the song, going with Jesus all the way. I've used the last 7 weeks consecutively. I've used the same 2 points. Let me give it to you one more time to wrap this series up. Jesus' declaration and Jesus' invitation. Number one, Jesus' declaration. Here it is. I have to harmonize verse 1 and 5 so you can hear the totality of this declaration. Jesus says, I am the true vine. You are the branches, and my Father is the vine dresser, the husbandman, the farmer. Again, Jesus is using Old Testament imagery to illustrate who he is. He's giving substance in the New Testament to the shadow of the Old Testament. And the first thing he says is, I am the true vine. If I were having you to underline in your Bible, I'd have you underline that word true, because here it means that I am the genuine vine. I am the authentic vine. I am the real deal. I'm the real vine. What came before me was inauthentic. I'm finna mess up my sermon. Because that means that you can come to church, and because you're not connected to the vine, it don't mean a thing. It don't mean nothing. You ain't real just because you come in here. You're real because you're connected to it. He says, I am the vine. I'm not just the vine. I'm the true vine. I'm the real deal. I'm the genuine article. I'm authentic in nature. I am what God is looking for. Jesus came in the flesh and fulfilled the will of God in the flesh, something that we couldn't do on our own. See, I've already told you that Israel keeps failing every time, from Genesis all the way down through the entirety of the Old Testament. We see Israel being planted by God and falling short of the glory of God. And Jesus says, you can't do it, so I'll do it. Ooh, I don't understand why y'all ain't shouting, because I ain't talking about Israel. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you can't get it right if you tried. You can't hit a straight lick because you're a crooked stick. I'm trying to get you to see that every time you try to get perfection on your own, you fall short. And Jesus comes in the flesh and says that you can't get yourself right with God. But what I'll do is I'll live a life that you can't live. I'll be perfect. I'll be sinless. I'll dot every I. I'll cross every T. I'll go to a cross and die because I'm the real deal, even when you can't be. I am the true vine. Let me push on. I am the true vine, and you are the branches. Now, it says, verse 5, you, disciple, are the branches, which means that your life is wrapped up in the vine. that the vine, I'm ahead of myself in my notes, but I want to put it right here just for good measure. The vine can make it without you, but you can't make it without the vine. They didn't like it on this side. Let me try it over here. I said the vine can make it without you, but you can't make it without the vine, because the vine is what's connected to the root. And the root is connected to the sustenance. And if you're not connected to the vine, connected to the root, you can't get what you need to make it. But if you stay connected. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. This whole sermon is designed to give you one action point. You have one job. You have one job. Stay connected to the vine. Okay, that's too city. Let me go all the way back to the country and grab one of them country quartet songs and say, you got to be hooked up in the vine. And they get all the way down in their chorus and say, you got to be wrapped up, tied up, tangled up. Your job is to make sure that there's no disconnect between you and the Father, you and the Son. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches, and if you stay connected to me, I'll make sure you bear fruit. The branch doesn't bear fruit, the vine bears the fruit. He just lets it hang off of the branch. I'm trying to tell you, if you stay connected to Jesus, Jesus will teach you how to love. If you stay connected to Jesus, Jesus will give you peace. If you stay connected to Jesus, Jesus will give you joy. But you can't get joy, peace, and love if you stay disconnected from Jesus. Teach you how to love your enemies. If you stay connected to him, teach you how to hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battle. But you got to stay connected to him. If you just stay connected, he says, you ain't got to worry about bearing fruit. I'll bear the fruit. Just stay connected. You looking for a blessing and seem it just won't come. I want to know how well is your connection. How is your flow open? Is the valve open? Is there a connection there? And if you're connected, he says, I know how to bless you if you just stay connected. I am the true vine. You are the branches. My Father is the vine dresser. Oh, this is good news to me. This is good news to me because this word vine dresser literally means that the Father takes care of the vine. They didn't listen to what I said. I mean, if they heard me preaching up here, they take over my sermon right in here. I said that the vine is Jesus. The branch on the vine is you. And the Father is the one who's been taking care of the vine, i.e. taking care of the branches on the vine. What are you saying? I'm saying that God takes care of me. That as long as I'm connected to Jesus, God has already obligated and committed himself to taking care of me. It may mean cutting on me. It may mean cleaning me up. It may mean watering me. It may mean pulling some stuff off of me. But whatever it takes to take care of me, the Father is committed to taking care of the vine. All right, I got to bring this a little bit closer home. Do you realize you ain't got sense enough to take care of yourself? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. But I recognize that if left to myself, I get myself in trouble every day. If left to myself, my health would deteriorate. If left to myself, my bank account would be in overdraft every day. If left to myself, my refrigerator would be empty and my gas tank would be empty. But because he's taking care of me, and you want to know one of the ways the Lord takes care of you? He keeps you in your right mind. He ain't let you go crazy. He keeps giving you activity of hands and feet. I'm trying to tell you that the Lord takes care of you, and it don't have to be something big. His taking care is often something small. Taking care of me. Trying to make sure I don't get poisoned. So he cut some people off of me because he knows if he lets them people stay connected, they're toxic and they'll poison me if he lets them stay. So sometimes the Lord cuts it off. And then sometimes the Lord will prune it back because, yeah, you were successful, but you were still proud. And I got to get that pride out of you so you can bear some more fruit. Yeah, I'm going to cut you. I let you get 2 steps forward, but I moved you 3 steps back because when you come back this next time, you'll do better. You'll go farther. You'll do more than you did before. And the only reason you'll be able to is because I pruned you. I cut you back. I didn't let. I'm coming to a place. I'm moving on because I'm out of time. I'm coming to a place in my walk with God. You may want to get there too, where you start thanking God for the times he told you no. I'm coming to the place where I'm thanking God for not answering, for giving me a negative answer to the prayer request I asked. I asked him, but I wasn't ready, and I didn't know I wasn't ready. And instead of letting me destroy myself, he took care of me. He wouldn't give me over to the hands of my enemies. Even when I was my enemy, he wouldn't let the plan of the enemy work. Jesus' declaration, I am the true vine. You are the branches. My Father is the vine dresser. Here's the invitation. Here's the invitation. Y'all, he want to crawl so bad. Here's the invitation. Here's the invitation. Here's the invitation. And he who abides in me and I in him will bear much fruit. Here's the invitation. Here's the invitation. You want to see some fruit in your life. You want to see the hand of God at work in your life. You want to see some blessings show up. Blessing on your job, blessings in your family, blessing in your finances, blessing in your health. You want to see some blessings show up in your life. I've already given you the answer. You got one job. Abide in him. Here's what he says. He says, here's what he says. You abide in me. I in you. That's when you will bear much fruit. See, you've been trying as a branch to do what a branch was never designed to do. Branches don't have any roots. Roots produce sap. Sap rises, stretches out into the branches, produces fruit. Well, branch ain't got no root. It says branch ain't got no root. Branch ain't got no sap. And because branch ain't got no sap, branch ain't got no fruit. But if you stay connected to the vine, if you just stay connected to the vine, he says, I'll cause you to bear much fruit. Get a little bit further down, he says, I won't just let you bear much fruit, I'll let you bear more fruit. Keep going down into the text. I just won't let you bear much fruit and then more fruit. I'll let you bear fruit that remains, but you must be connected. You have to abide in me. And y'all come to Bible study, and we'll talk about the three ways this can be interpreted. That you can interpret this by way of the complementary view, that I'm abiding in him because he's abiding in me. That both of us are mutually hanging on to each other. We could talk about that. We could talk about the comparison view that says, the comparison view says, abide in me like I abide in you. You could go comparison view. Then you could go to the conditional view. Conditional view, if you abide in me, I will abide in you. Which is more in line with what the text is saying. The text is saying, I ain't going nowhere. And I ain't changing. I've been real from the beginning. Now, if you want the benefits of a genuine connection, then don't you run off. See it in the context. I'm gonna stop. I'm out of time. See it in this context. It's Thursday. Jesus is going to the cross in the morning. Matter of fact, he's on his way right now to the Garden of Gethsemane. Judas is going to betray him with a kiss. They're going to take him from judgment hall to judgment hall, and they're going to try him in kangaroo courts all night long. And Jesus is saying to them, before they have a chance to leave, if you stay connected to me, but before you have a reason to desert me, I'm telling you to stay connected to me. Before you have a reason to deny me, I'm telling you to stay connected to me. Because if you stay connected to me, it doesn't matter what happens in the morning, I can still bear fruit in your life. And I need a witness in this room. I wish I had the voice. If I could, I would. But let me get somebody in this room that knows that staying with Jesus in hard times will bring you through a hard time. That if you just hold on to him while the storms of life are raging, he'll bring you through the storm. Anybody ever held on to Jesus with a bad report from the doctor and he pulled you through that thing? Anybody ran out of money but you held on to Jesus and he supplied your every need? And oh, it's finna get dark. It's finna get bad. Get me to the night, and I'll be in handcuffs. I'll be drugged from court to court. They're gonna whip me with cat of nine tails and beat me with a rod. They're gonna put a crown of thorns. But if you hold on to me, if you just stick with me through the night, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll carry you through the darkness of the night. And when you know anything, you'll be standing up on resurrection saying, look what the Lord has done. Brought me out of darkness. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I got two last things I need to say. I got two last things. I got a minute and a half to say two last things. Here's the first thing. That if you want a continual blessing, it requires continual abiding. That as long as you stay connected to the vine, dry seasons will come. Cold seasons will come. But if you hang on through the fall, and if you hang on through the winter, spring will come. And when spring comes, he knows how to water what's been connected And when summer comes, he knows how to gather fruit off of but you gotta stay. Here's the last thing the text says. I've talked about everything the text said, but one line. Jesus says it in the negative. He says, apart from me, you can do nothing. Apart from me. I like old King James. Without me, you can do nothing. Jesus says it in the negative. That my attempts at salvation without him will be fruitless. That my trying to please God without him won't amount to anything. Because nothing from nothing, oh, y'all know that, huh? Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Even if you take something from nothing, you still got. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Without me, you can do nothing. But then Paul in Philippians takes Jesus's statement and he turns it from a negative into a positive. And he says it this way in Philippians chapter 4. He says, where Jesus says, without me, you can do nothing. I'm going to say, but with Christ, but with him, I can do. Wait a minute. I said with him, I can do all things. I went from nothing to all things. Here's another way to say it. With God, all things are possible if you believe. Y'all don't like my sermon. I said if you just believe him, if you just abide in him, the thing that was impossible without him becomes possible with him because you stayed connected to him. I'll preach some more next week.